Hey guys, IC Alexander here again. I know I just finished up a video on Sarge Morn's lasering on my trilogy, and I had this gun out, so I thought I'd actually do a review. So what I've got for you guys today is the GoG eNMEy. This is a gun I bought it on pre-order over on MCB. I actually have one of the very first blue GoG enemies ever made. So, sort of a little, cool point, I guess. Anyways, let's get started. So the eNMEy is actually very similar internally to actually an automag, oddly enough. It's also similar to an ion. It's a blow-forward spool valve type design, except this one uses no electronics. It is completely mechanical. So it uses a three-way to actuate the valve. So it is somewhat similar to a cocker in that respect. It does have some of the good upgrades that people clamored for, clamored for on the ion. So it's got the bolt out the back. You just undo that with the Allen key that is included. Take this off. That slides out the chamber, and then the bolt comes out, and then there you go. You've pretty much got, you just run a squeegee in through it, and if you got any brakes or anything. With that said, that's a good segue into the fact that this gun has some of the best mechanical anti-chop performance on the market. For those of you that are familiar with how a level 10 bolt system on a mag functions, this is almost the exact same system. It's a two-stage low-force bolt. So for the first, tenth of the stroke or so, it's running at an extremely low pressure. So low, in fact, that if the ball is not fully seated, it will actually chuff and reset, just like a level 10 bolt system. With that said, it does have the caveat to the level 10 system in that the first little bit of the stroke, it's in fact actually leaking air so that it can get to that low pressure. So this gun actually is fairly air efficient, but as with the level 10 mag, it will eat more air than, say, a gun that would be just a blow forward spool valve like a level 7 bolt on a classic valve. Those are a lot more air efficient than the level 10s, but if you give up the air efficiency, then you get great anti-chop performance. So it's a bit of a trade-off, but with most fields having all-day air, and personally I run a 50-45, so it's not really a huge issue. Just something of note if you're going to run a smaller steel tank, like a 48-3000, you may be refilling a little bit more often than with some other guns on the market, so just something to note. But yeah, like I said, with that being said, great mechanical anti-chop performance, very, very simple design. Literally unscrew the back cap, pull it out, there's the bolt, and the chamber, it sits in the dump chamber, all is one piece. Pull those out, run your squeegee through, lube them up a little bit, use grease on this, don't use oil, you will screw it up. It does have some pneumatic hosing as well. You don't really have to touch that too much unless you blow a hose, and there's directions in the manual on how to replace them if you need to. But I can't see, unless you overpressurize the gun, I can't see there being an issue with blown hose. Like the ion, it does have a regulator. It's a different adjustment than the ion. The ion, of course, had that little nut that you had to put a wrench on and turn. This is more standard. It's just an Allen key in the bottom. Turn it, of course, clockwise in to up the pressure, or turn it counterclockwise. You back the screw out, it lowers the pressure. Of course, with all guns, the reg does take some breaking in, so the velocity can be a little weird for the first couple of cases. The reg isn't broken in, so it's not regulating as tightly as it should. For me, it took some futzing around at the chrono at Carnage to get it right into the, between 275 and 280 area. With it basically, it's basically right out of the box. I'd only ever shot it once before, and I think I only put a couple of hundred rounds through it that time. So this gun has had less than one case through it, and so basically right straight out of the box, less than half a case through it, it's about plus or minus 5 or so, and as I shoot more and more, and the seals in the reg get more and more broken in, that should tighten up quite a bit. So to give you an idea of what you can expect in terms of velocity consistency out of the box, like I said, the only thing I did was I just got a better barrel. Well, I wouldn't say better, but a tighter bore barrel. The stock barrel is a 10-inch, and I believe it's about 6.93, 6.95, somewhere in there, so it is fairly big. So unless you're in an area that has massive paint, you are going to want something a little bit small, a little bit more bore matched, as that will help with not only your accuracy, but it also helps with your air efficiency a little bit, as you're not wasting as much air, down the barrel, just propelling the ball. And especially, like I said, with the going back to the bolt system and how it's designed, Every little bit of air efficiency you can squeeze out of this gun really helps. Another big plus for this gun you don't see on too many guns in the entry level is a locking feed neck. Now it's not a lever lock, so it's nothing fancy, so it's not, like a Q lock or something of that nature, but you know what? It's a clamping feed neck. So it does the job, holds on to a loader nice and tight, so you're not going to have loaders spinning. You don't have to worry about O-rings like you did with the old Ion feed necks or anything like that. So hey, for what you're paying for the gun, I mean, I paid, including shipping, I paid $140. I think they're now down to, I think retail's about $125, $130 maybe. I'd have to actually check. I'll check at Select Paintball and I'll post an addendum in the description when I find out the exact retail pricing from Travis on that. But I believe at Select Paintball here in Niagara, I think they're $130 out the door. And for $130, I mean, I remember back when I started playing, $130 bought me an electronic stack tube blowback. I was shooting a Piranha R6 E-Force, which, I mean, it was a decent gun when I bought it. I've always been a big fan of Piranhas. They're spider threaded. You can get all sorts of crazy parts. You can actually do some really crazy stuff with them if you want. You can T-board them and stuff. But anyways, I digress. Basically, for the price point, this is really attacking the entry level. So if you're looking to play airball, entry level on a budget, you don't want to go into $300, $400, $500 for a gun, and then you're dropping tons of money on a tank and a loader. This actually isn't a bad way to go about it. You can hold your own if you practice snap shooting. This gun is also very light, by the way, so that's another big positive for it. It's extremely lightweight, so even with a tank and loader, you're looking at under 4 pounds in terms of loadout. I think this gun, without the loader, I think was less than 2 pounds. With the tank and the loader on it and paint in it, from what I remember, I think it was just a shade under, like I said, 4.5 pounds or so. So really, really lightweight. Really great for beginners and people like myself that I love mags. I really do. I own a couple of them. In fact, actually, I sold off my classic mag with an level X bolt system at Carnage, which I sort of regret it, but at the same time I actually picked up the micro mag I'd been lusting after for a while. But like I said, it's coming out of a guy that shoots mags. These are great, and if you're looking into anything similar, like I said, a mag is probably the most similar gun to this in terms of it being fully mechanical. And to get the anti-chop performance, the smooth shot, the fire, the relatively high rate of fire is. I'll show you the trigger pull. I mean, there's a trigger pull. It's literally almost nothing. Trigger pulls maybe a pound, and like I said, less than an inch trigger pull, so you really can get on it. To do that in a mag, you're spending some serious cash. Like you're looking into just the bolt system to get a level X bolt. You're looking at, after shipping and tax, you're looking at about 3/4 of the cost of this marker. Of course, excluding the barrel, but you can actually find these barrels. This is an Evil pipe barrel. You can find these all day for $20 or so, and they're an amazing barrel if you can get one. The other barrel I highly recommend if you can get one, because they discontinued it in Impulse thread, which is what this gun takes, so same threads as the Ion, is a Lurker Eigen barrel in 684, which is another great barrel. And I do actually have one on my trilogy, which was in my last video, which is a 678. So, and I've got a video up that actually reviews the Lurker barrel from a little while ago this year. So take a look at that if you want. But anyways, like I said, for the price point, this has got to be the best beginner's gun on the market, bar none. You're not going to find, like I said, you're not going to find features like bolt out the back on any other gun in the $130 price range, because you're competing with, Tippmann 98s. You're competing with the Azoden Chaos, and there's nothing against the Azoden Chaos. It's a great gun. It is cocker threaded, so it does have the advantage over this of a little bit more barrel selection. But at the end of the day, it's a stack tube blowback. So, what I would say is if you're looking into a gun, unless you're really, unless you've got a good collection of cocker barrels, this is probably a better buy than I would say the Azoden KP or the Azoden Chaos is, pardon me, for a beginner. Personally, like I said, I personally picked this up just so I could have a lightweight run and gun setup when, I don't feel like playing pump or bringing out the mag as the micro mag I have. I'm going to actually turn it into something pretty crazy with an X valve and probably a rotor, and I'm going to do some shimming of the on-off pin and really get it screaming. But I figure let's have something that's a little bit less crazy, but nonetheless just as high quality. Like I said, for 100 and now 125 bucks retail, great quality here. You're looking at the internals are very, very nice. Dual tail O-rings. They include spares. There's a nice little printed two-sided sheet of paper for the manual, but you don't really need too much manual for this gun, frankly. There's not too much that can go wrong with it. I can't remember what else there's to say. Oh, the other thing I forgot to mention is for those of you that like a stiffer trigger pull or really want to lighten the trigger pull, there is actually a spring in the grip frame that has multiple holes, and depending on which hole you put it in, it adjusts how much trigger pull you have. Not in terms of pull, but in terms of how much weight there is. If you take the spring right out, then it gets really, really, really light. So that can be another thing if you're looking to play some airball and you really want to hop on the trigger. Not a bad thing. This gun, if you're going to buy into it, the other thing I would say is if you can, do buy at least a Revy with an X board. You will need it. You can outshoot a gravity hopper very, very easily. Personally, another hopper, if you can't afford a Revy, which I don't know why you couldn't, I mean, there's 30 bucks or so, but if you're on a real tight budget, another hopper that will feed this gun very, very well, gravity hopper, is the Extreme Rage, basically the remake of the old Sport Shot hopper. They're 100 rounds. They're a more canted ramp feed, and I actually shot one of those at Carnage during Final Battle, and I mean I was still able to get probably a good 8+ BPS out of this, which isn't ridiculously fast, but given it's a single figure trigger and you have to fully pull and fully release just like an autococker or a mag, that's actually not too bad. That's actually a decent rate of fire. And like I said, if you're playing rec airball and you want to play, you want to step up and you want to play with even the guys shooting PMRs or G3s or G4s or whatever, as long as you're keeping your head down while they're blasting away your bunker, like I said, you've got the advantage where this has lighter weight, it's a tighter setup, and if you want to work on your snap shooting, no better platform to do it. Anyways, that's my sort of quick and dirty review of the GoG eNMEy. If you got any questions, as always, hit me up. And you know what? Like I said, and like I always say, goggles on, barrel socks off, guns up, balls out. Peace.